Almost every day we see or hear something in the news with a shooting of some sort. If it's bad enough, the entire country will get wind of it. There are many anti-gun activists that despise the right for the U.S. citizen to own a gun. The Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution states, "All well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed." I support the right to bear arms. We all share this right and its importance. The main targets of interest of the Second Amendment are the media's portrayal of guns, important reasons to own a gun, criminals, and the fear of government seizing the gun right. A big issue is the media shows the public, people, how horrible these firearms are, so many viewers don't see the other side of the story. It's understood that a gun is violent in its nature, but many anti-gun groups can't understand the paradox of this right. This is a growing issue as our country advances, and many people think this amendment needs to be taken out of our Bill of Rights. But the need for owning a gun is crucial to self-protection. There's more good than evil when it comes to owning a gun, and instead of the media putting bad stories in everybody's heads, people should not be persuaded by these thoughts alone. I, for one, need to find things out for myself. So instead of listening to all the bad stories that they say, find out what the good things are about the gun. There are important reasons to own a gun. One is to protect you and your family. If someone were to come in with a gun and we weren't given the right to bear arms, a criminal is going to find a way to get a gun, and he could come in and murder your family, and you have no way to defend yourself. So that's very important that we have that right. Protect the business. My dad owns a business, and we keep a shotgun in the back. If something were to happen, if someone were to come in, that person would be threatened just as much as we would be. You need to protect your assets that you build up throughout the years. You build up all these things, and you want to protect them by owning a gun. It may take an experience of your life being threatened to understand the valuable nature of a gun and the Second Amendment. For instance, I was 14 years old. I went to a movie, and it was a late showing, and me and my friends were the only one to come out at the end of the showing because it was an empty theater. And actually, two guys came up and started robbing the whole theater. So we were scared. We ducked down. We ran. It was an instance where I really thought about guns and how they are conducted in our country. I'm sure many of you heard the saying, "Guns don't kill people, people kill people." And what this means is criminals will find a way to possess a gun no matter what the law is, because they think they're above the law. And now I believe it is completely unethical to take the gun right away from a law-abiding citizen. As citizens, we need to stand strong for our Bill of Rights, and most importantly, the right to bear arms. The Founding Fathers' main idea for owning a gun was to protect ourselves from the tyranny of the government. The less we care about the Second Amendment, the faster the government will put even more regulations on the firearms. In California, in the California State Constitution, it does not guarantee private citizens the right to purchase or carry firearms. However, U.S. court decision of Heller in 2008 and McDonald in 2010 established the Second Amendment to apply to all states within the Union. This shows how governments are attempting to take our gun right away from us. We the people need to stand up for the framework of this right and the Bill of Rights in general. We are given the gift of life, and by any means we should be able to protect it with a gun. My goal is to have people understand how vital the right to bear arms is to human self-protection. And it's your job to uphold this right, as is mine. I'm concerned that we don't understand the good part of gun ownership. Then individual protection is not going to exist in our society if we don't realize. This is a quote from Vladimir Lenin. "One man with a gun can control 100 without one." In the bigger picture, one man would be the government, and 100 would be, the citizens. And if we don't support if we don't support and fight for our right, then we will eventually not be able to decide this right that we have. A U.S. representative of Texas named Ron Paul states, "America was founded by men who understood that the threat of domestic tyranny is as great as any threat from abroad. If we want to be worthy of their legacy, we must resist the rush towards ever-increasing state control of our society. Otherwise, our own government will become a greater threat to our freedoms than any foreign terrorist. My purpose is to help you understand the wonderful freedoms we have, and most importantly, stand up for the Second Amendment that grants us the ultimate right to protection. I hope that I have strength and support to uphold the right to bear arms. Thank you.
Frank, what did you think?
It's a good speech, definitely a controversial topic, both politically and socially, but, you know, I thought you did a good job of, you know, identifying good, strong points of supporting your stance on it. Your tone in the speech is very even. There's not a lot of inflection in your voice. You just keep going, and you know, that's just with more practice and more speeches, you know, you'll get that more confidence. Reading off the cards, yeah, just with more practice, you get more comfortable. But overall, I think you did a great job. You had some good examples, both personally and also with like using different statistics and stuff like that. So I thought overall it was a good speech.
Okay. You know, it's not hard to find examples every day of issues that are related to controversy on gun control, and you just kind of make a generic reference to it. I think it would be more involving at the beginning if you had a particular reference. The Bob Costas comments after the unpleasantness in Kansas City a week or so ago created a whole variety of dispute about this issue. That might have been a good place to use for an attention device. Your subject is clear, your point of view is relatively clear. It sounds like you've got a preview that sets up the structure of the speech, so I thought that the beginning sounded promising. I don't think that you follow through on that structure. It seems like we do get an inventory of the usual claims about gun rights, and you know, they're fine. I think you stated them relatively clearly. What you need to do, though, is defend them a little bit more vigorously. It sounds like a nice essay if you were responding to a prompt on the issue, but it doesn't really seem to build a particularly strong case. For instance, on self-defense, all you have are a couple of hypothetical examples. You've got one personal experience, but none that show how guns have been effective in self-defense, how much impact they have on the level of crime, what the laws or rules are about people being able to utilize guns for self-defense issues, what problems are presented by people who do use guns for I mean, none of those issues are developed. And the only proof that you have on this is, like I said, kind of generic stuff about self-defense hypotheticals for the most part. The issue of you know, control by the government. You have the Lenin quote. I think that's maybe a good attention device for this sort of thing. And then the Ron Paul quote, I think, kind of gives you a little bit more substance on that point. But you're going to have to require some scenario or situation where it seems likely that we're going to be controlled this way, that there would be some potential danger from the government. You could easily point to examples of other places where that has been the case, and maybe find some issues that are going on in the U.S. today that suggest that's going on. I just think that it's underdeveloped. It's okay. It's actually the best developed point in the argument, but it's, again, very esoteric, sort of abstract in nature. You know, the only factual data in the speech has to do with the court rulings on these issues, and I'm not sure that there's a lot of dispute on those kinds of things. What you need to talk about is where this threat to gun rights comes from. Are there laws being proposed? Are there lawsuits that have been filed? Are there courts that are violating the decisions of the Supreme Court in regard to this? Are there movements? It just seems to be like you're fighting a generic enemy out there, if you will. And sometimes, you know, if you throw your fist into a cloud, all that's going to happen is that cloud's going to dissipate a little bit. I think you need to have something a little bit more concrete that you are attacking. On delivery issues, you know what, your voice is fine. I think your eye contact's a little inconsistent because you have to do a lot of reading. I think you need to work on your pronunciation of tyranny because it sounded odd every time you said it. It was a little bit off, and I think that hurts your position a little bit. All right, thank you.